babes, and welcome to my book nook.
We are monsters. We give and we take.
Those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I read all different types of books from all different types of genres, so if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. It really helps my channel grow. Today's video is very late. I understand, okay? Don't at me. Also, the air is on. Does it need to be on? Yes, because it's hotter than a witch's thing in here, okay? Anyway, that's not what I came on to say. I know that this is way overdue. I just didn't film it, and I kept not filming it, and finally realized, Rainy, it needs to come out. So hence, here's my February wrap-up in the middle of March. Do I care? No. Are you ready? Get ready. We're going to talk about the good and bad and the ugly, because February was not a great month. I will say it was a lackluster reading month, and it was very unfortunate as I hosted my Battle of the Girl Bands readathon, and I did not have a lot of successful reads. I only had 1 5-star, and I had a lot of DNFs along the way, okay? I had a lot of crazy vlogs. I had a lot of things. The first thing we're going to go over is all of my stats, because I love doing my stats. I will have timestamps in case you want to skip through that. We'll get to the tier ranking thing at the end, and then underneath this video, I will link any vlogs that I did this month that I talk more extensively about the books, because the tier ranking is more just tier ranking and all that sort of stuff. So if you're with me, let's hit it. I have my laptop here in case I forget anything, so if I'm looking down, I'm looking at it for my stats. Okay, so as far as my all-around monthly stats, I read 8 books. It says 11 because 3 were a DNF, and it counts DNFs, but I only actually read 8 for a total of 30,157 pages read. It totaled to 36.43 hours listened, which is on the lower spectrum for me. My average rating was a 3.4. That is not good. That was not good. And the books that I acquired were 31. I acquired more books than there are days of the month. Let's not stay there for a while, okay? I acquired 5 library books. I didn't do any rereads. I had 3 DNFs. I started 5 series, and I had 3 diverse reads, which is still not ideal considering I would have loved half of what I read to be diverse. So I almost hit that, but it wasn't that great. So, as a total, I read 8 books in January, and I wanted to read 15, which is not great. And as I mentioned, it was during my Battle of the Girl Bands readathon. Also not great. Then we get to my ratings, and this is where you see how it was bad. I had 3 DNFs, 1 2-star, 2 2.5 stars, 1 3-star, 3 4 stars, and 1 5-star. So, it was rough, fam. It was rough. Then, a thing that it does on my spreadsheet that I like is the shortest book I read was the final revival of Opal and Nev, because I only got 6 pages in before I DNF'd. The shortest book for audio I read or listened to was Woman in the Library. I listened to it for a total of 1.23 hours because it didn't become available to me until I had already almost finished the book. The longest book I read was The Jasad Heir at 485 pages, and the longest audiobook I listened to was Cleopatra and Frankenstein for a total of 8.2 hours. Then when genres go, we have 1 historical, 1 horror, 1 humor, 1 mystery, 1 romance, 2 romantasy, and 4 fantasy. So I discovered on my spreadsheet this month that it counts romantasy as its own separate category. And how do I differentiate between the two? Is the romance heavier than the fantasy? It goes there. If the fantasy is more heavier than the romance, then it goes into fantasy. So most of my books that I read are fantasy romance. A couple are romantasy, and I'll talk to you about which ones I labeled where when we get there. As far as my diversity goes, like I said, I had 3 diverse reads. 1 was LGBTQ plus rep, 3 were own voices, meaning the author wrote about their own experiences, and then that totals my percentage of diversity at 27% for the month. I could still do better. The format was 11 novels, so no short books this month. The source was 2 ebooks, 3 physical, and 6 mixture, meaning I either listened to the ebook and the audiobook or the physical. I always love to mix and match. I acquired 1 from a book box, 3 from a bookstore, 2 from Kindle Unlimited, 3 from the library, and 2 from other miscellaneous places, probably like Pango, Second and Charles, that sort of stuff. As far as the audience goes, I read 10 adult books and 1 YA book. And then for authors, I read 3 authors' debut books. So I read Sarah Hashem, which was The Jasad Heir, Donnie Walton, which was the final revival of Opal and Nev, and Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors, which I didn't like any of those books. I'm very sorry, authors. I had 7 new-to-me authors: Dathan Auerbach for Pen Pal, Jack Whitney for The Ballad of Nightmares, Alexandra Christo for The Night Hunt, Sulari Gentile for The Woman in the Library, L.J. Andrews for The Ever King, Susanna Clark for Piranesi, and Vanessa Rosanen for Till the Stars Fall. And then I had 1 author I'd read from before, Rebecca Ross for A River Enchanted. So I still love that I'm getting to a lot of new authors this year. When the series come about, I read 5 that were part of a series: Ballad of Nightmares, Jasad Heir, Ever King, River Enchanted, and Until the Stars Fall. And I had 6 standalone books. Peer and Essie, The Final Revival of Opal and Nev, Pen Pal, The Night Hunt, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and The Woman in the Library. So, those are all the stats I have. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up each book, and some of these books have already sold, so I will put a picture in place of it. I'm going to hold up each book really quickly from least favorite book to highest ranked book, just to show you what I read for the month, and then we'll dive into the actual tier ranking itself. So, in no particular order, well, in a very particular order, The Final Revival of Opal and Nev, DNF'd at 6 pages in. Ballad of Nightmares, DNF'd at 12 pages in. Peer and Essie, DNF'd at 36 pages in. Cleopatra and Frankenstein, 2 stars. The Jasad Heir, 2.5 stars. The Woman in the Library, 2.5 stars. Pen Pal, 3 stars. The Night Hunt, 4 stars. A River Enchanted, 4 stars. Until the Stars Fall, 4 stars. And The Ever King, 5 stars. Now that we've talked about all of these books, I am going to go and get to the tier ranking section. So I'm going to become small in 3, 2, 1, hit it! Okay, friends. So let's go over this tier maker really, really quick because I do the same one every single time. So I'm just going to speed through it. If you don't want to hear this, then you can skip to the part where I actually start prioritizing the books. But we have He's Her Lobster, which is like top tier, like this is meant to be, like it's written in the stars, like this is an all-time new favorite book obsession that I'm like obsessed without, God tier. Then we have What's Not to Like? Custard, good. Jam, good. Meat, good. It's like, what's not to like about this book? I can't really find huge faults with this book. It's still a good book. I will still gladly recommend this to others. It just didn't give me like that 5-star feeling. Then we have Smelly Cow, what are they feeding you? It's like, you want to love it, but there's like something wrong with it. Like, you know, like you love a smelly cat, but like, why is it smelly? Like, what's wrong with it? Like, what is the overlying problem? So it's just kind of like those, meh, it was a book and I read it type situations. Then we have I Wish I Could, but I don't want to. It's like, I wish I could love this book, but I don't want to. And I'm not sad about it, honestly. And last but not least, we have Oh My God. These are dumpster fire. Would not recommend. Put them in the trash. They're bad, okay? And February was a pretty craptastic month as I've included all of my D and Fs on here, so we might actually see a lot of books in the Oh My God section. So without further ado, let's get started with number 1, which is Pen Pal. And, I don't know where to put this. It's either in Smelly Cat or I Wish I Could, but I don't want to. And I feel like I'm going to put it here for now because I wanted to like this book. Actually, no, because the ending was stupid. I'm putting it here. I am very mad at this book. I thought the ending was stupid. I don't get why everybody loves this book and says it's a fantastic book. I don't agree with this sentiment. I liked the idea of, like, a kid, you know, having, like, they send balloons off in the distance with, like, a letter and having their pen pal write back to them. And his pen pal person was, like, creepy. I get that. And each chapter is, like, a different story from his life and it all connects back together in some overarching way. However, I thought the ending was dumb and I don't see what everybody else saw in this book. I'm just very sad that I did not like this book. Now, to be fair, I'm also not in a thriller and horror time of my life, so should I have read this right now? Probably not. Maybe it would have hit different at a different time, but this is when I read it, and so that's where it has to go. Then we have The Final Revival of Opal and Nev. And since I DNF'd it on page 6, I'm going to have to put it in Oh My God, because I just couldn't get into this book. I didn't want to read this book. I didn't want to own this book. And as we learned from the video that I did this with Leandra, so if you want to see my collab video where I watched this with Leandra, I'll link all the videos that I read for these books underneath here. It just didn't work for me. It's not Daisy Jones and the Six, so like, why is it trying to do that, you know? Then we had The Woman in the Library. And, you know, I genuinely enjoyed this book, which is why I don't want to put it in, like, I wish I could, but I don't want to, because it read super fast, even though I gave it a 2-star. Actually, I might have given it a 2.5 star. I'm going to put it here, because I enjoyed it more than Pen Pal, and I know what the problems were, as I go into extensive lengths about in the collaboration blog with Leandra, because I read that for that same blog. And I'm just frustrated at this book that tried to be meta, but it kind of way overdid itself, and it shot itself in the foot, and I just don't think it had the great ending that it should have, if we're being honest. So, that's rather aggravating. But it is what it is. So yeah, that's where that one's gonna land. Like, there are parts of it, like, it read really quickly. It was, like, a pretty easy, like, happy-go-lucky thriller mystery, but didn't really do anything for me. Honestly, it was a book, and I read it. Nice, ma'am. We're just getting all my bad books out of the way. We have Peer and Essie by Susanna Clark, which I got to page 36 of and DNF'd. So, I'm gonna put that in. Actually, No. I'm gonna put that in I wish I could, but no. If I DNF'd, it needs to go in oh my god. But I don't want to put it in oh my god. Because, like, honestly, I wish I could have liked this, but I can't put it in Smelly Cat because I didn't even finish it, okay? But I do think it's a step above Opal and Neff. I see the merit of this book and that it is for some people. However, the people that it's for is not Rainy Blue Barton, okay? It's not for me. And once again, this was a Leandra collab vlog. That one was chaotic, so if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. It was just rough, okay? We were on the streets with this book. We were just trying to navigate, find our way through this mess, see if we could understand it, and it took us on a journey, and I don't know what I read in those 36 pages. No idea what I read. And then the last book in our Leandra vlog, I don't know how they ended up all together at once, but they did, is Cleopatra and Frankenstein. And this one is going to be the first one in the oh my god section, because I hated this book. Hated this book. Honestly, the more I think about it, I need to give it a 1 star. It has terrible animal cruelty. It was not the book I was expecting. I was expecting, like, you know, this, like, sad, but, like, lyrical, like, age gap romance. And that is not this book, okay? That is not this book. This book, I don't care about half of the perspectives in this book. I really only cared about Cleopatra and Frank, but I had all these other POVs that I didn't give a lick about. I didn't even feel the kinetic romance between Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Once again, the animal cruelty thing really threw me for a whirl. And I just found myself ultimately not caring about this book or any of these people. And it was rather frustrating. And I'm very, very mad at this book. I think it is poorly mismarketed and misrepresented. And I'm just mad because I wanted to love this book. I wanted to love this book. But alas, I didn't. So that's the end of it. Then we get to The Night Hunt, and that was a very pleasant surprise for me, so I'm putting that in What's Not to Like, because I read this for tailored book recommendations, like Gives Me Books, and so I will link that blog underneath here as well. And I was not expecting to read this. I had never read this. It's a fantasy romance, a YA fantasy romance, and it's written by the same author of To Kill a Kingdom, which I haven't read yet, but it's on my TBR. Well, after this, that'll highly go up my TBR, because I just had the best time with this book. It was fun. It had some Greek mythology in it, which I was a little hesitant about, but like it wasn't too much. I loved the relationship in this. It was just a fun adventure. I loved every single character in this book. It took me on a ride. I was very obsessed with it. Honestly, I would have been happy if it had been a series, but it is a standalone, and I highly recommend everyone read it because it was very much a pleasant surprise for me. Then we have The Ever King, and that is going all the way to the tippity top. He's Her Lobster. That was a fabulous pirate nautical fantasy romance. I love a good pirate romance, hence Sea of Ruin, okay? Hence Daughter of the Pirate King. I'm just a pirate fantasy girly, okay? And this just really worked for me. I read this for Tori's book club, which is one of my favorite book clubs because it's fantasy romance. And I don't know, the vibes were vibing. I loved all of the characters. I loved our side characters like Sewell and Clara. I loved everyone, okay? It took me on a magical ride. I already bought The Ever Queen. I own it so that I can read it very, very soon. And then I think there's one more book in the series coming out this year. I'm obsessed, okay? I loved The Man and the Woman. I loved the folklore behind it all. I just loved it, okay? I can't say enough about this book. If you haven't read it or you're thinking about reading it, go pick it up. It's a fun old time. And yeah, honestly, it's fabulous. Then we have Until the Stars Fall, which is another fantasy romance. It's Fated Mates. And I'm going to put that in What's Not to Like because I really did like this one. It just didn't give me the 5-star feeling. I mean, it kind of felt insta-lovey, but like that's the point of it, right? Like it's Fated Mates. Like that's what it's supposed to be. And so I'm going to put it there. I had a really good time with this book. I was a little hesitant on it because I didn't really love another book by Vanessa Rosanen, or at least I haven't even finished it yet, so I assume I'm not loving it because like it didn't motivate me to finish it. But this one was really good. I liked the relationship. I liked how the fated mates are like able to like see each other in dreams. I thought that aspect was really cool, and honestly, I just think it flows really well. The reason I also didn't put it at the top is because they're supposed to be interconnected standalones, and the next book follows different characters. But I'm wondering if the questions that I have that were raised at the end of this book are going to get answered, or if they're kind of going to get swept to the wayside because it's not following those same characters. So I don't know. But we are going to continue on with the series to find out. Then we have The Ballad of Nightmares. And that is the cringiest writing I've ever read in my life. I only read like 20 pages. Sent it to the besties. They said don't read it. Okay? So that's going, oh my god. Honestly, that's probably, no. Okay, I finished this one, but no. That's the worst writing. The worst writing I've ever read. And the audacity of tailored book recommendations to say that this is like Serpent and the Wings of Night. That is the biggest slap in the face I have ever seen in my entire life. I want to slap that website upside the head. That is not like Serpents. I can't not believe you recommended that to me. Like, I'm going to call HR. I mean, they call HR and say, hello, we got a problem down here. We got a situation, okay? That is not okay. I hated this book. Don't read. Don't recommend. So cringe. I can't even believe I let my eyeballs read that for 20 pages. Then we get to the Just Saw It Air, which I also read for tailored book recommendations. And I'm not going to put it in Oh My God, but I am going to put it in I Wish I Could, but I Don't Want to, because that book was boring as heck, okay? Boring as heck. I could not push through it. I would not label it as a fantasy romance. Technically it is one, but like the romance is like so minuscule, like not even that it's a slow burn. I just don't buy it, okay? I don't buy what you're selling me. So go try again. Go back to the store and try it again. I know I'm being really harsh in this February wrap-up, but I just did not like these books, okay? These books, and it was during my girl band's readathon, and this is what always happens. I don't like the books that I read. It happened in Clear Readathon too. Like, why am I picking books that I'm just not going to have a good time with? I don't even know. But I will not be continuing on in that series. That's very safe to say. And then we have A River Enchanted. And I'm not entirely sure whether I want to put that in He's Her Lobster or What's Not to Like, because I did give it a 4.5 stars. Okay, honestly, I'm going to put it in He's Her Lobster, even though it wasn't like God tier, but that's just because I had such a fun time with this book. I had originally given it a 5 stars, but then upon reflecting, I was like, okay, but it didn't give me the 5-star feeling. However, I enjoyed it a lot more than The Night Hunt and Until the Stars Fall, so I'll keep it there. It honestly should be in the middle of them, because it was such, I mean, I just love Rebecca Ross. I love what she does. I loved Divine Rivals. I loved this. I just love, it was like an easy to follow, but also whimsical, like YA fantasy romance. And like, it didn't have, the romance wasn't cringe. I liked all the character arcs. I liked the stories. I liked where it's going. I definitely need to continue on with book number 2. I just had a fun time with this. Like, really, I enjoyed it the entire time from start to finish. I was maybe bored like a couple of different times, but it was more just like, I feel like it was just a little too long for the story that it was trying to do. But overall, it was such a fun time. With that, this is a very sad tier ranking, because these are all books that I did not care about. In fact, it outweighs the ones that I did, because there were only 2 that I ultimately really loved, 2 that I really did enjoy, and 1 that I was kind of meh, and then a bunch that were and then a bunch that were So, I mean, you don't have to take a screenshot. I would just write down the 4 that I actually recommend. This is very sad, but we're going to rectify that in March. And we already have, because obviously this video is going up halfway through March. And I've already read some bangers in March, and I'm reading some bangers right now. So March's wrap-up is going to be much more exciting than this. But it's okay. We'll survive. Let's go to Big Size Rainy to close this video out. Alright friends, that is my tier ranking video for February. If you got to the end of this, let's put something piratey, some pirate emoji, whether it's a ship or a pirate, whatever it is for the Ever King, since that was my favorite book of the month. And let me know in the comments below what was your favorite book of the month, or what was your least favorite book of the month. I'd love to know either. So if you want to share both, let a girl know. And with that, I will see you guys in a video very, very soon.